small ship moved slowly through the darkness of space. Dr. Jake Morrison pressed his face against the window and looked out at the strange sight ahead. The research station called Kepler's Edge floated like a dead whale in the black ocean of stars. Half of its lights were out. The other half flickered like dying candles. "Looks pretty bad," said Lisa Park from the pilot seat. She was the team's engineer, and the best one Jake had ever worked with. Her hands moved over the controls with easy skill. Tony Rivera checked his weapon for the third time. He was their security officer and always worried about danger. 3 years since anyone lived here. Could be anything waiting for us inside. Jake pulled his tablet from his bag and looked at the mission files again. The Galactic Research Consortium had sent them here to find valuable alien technology. The station had been abandoned after some kind of accident. Most of the research team had died. The survivors had taken what they could and left everything else behind. "The AI should still be working," Jake said. "At least that's what the reports say." Their ship connected to the station with a soft bump. Lisa checked the air readings. Atmosphere is thin but breathable. Temperature is cold but okay. The life support systems are barely working. They put on their environment suits anyway. Jake always believed it was better to be safe. He had spent 10 years studying alien life forms and had learned to be careful. The airlock opened with a long hiss. The inside of the station was dark and quiet. Their flashlights cut through the shadows as they moved down the main corridor. The walls were covered with ice crystals. Their breath came out in small white clouds. "Power is definitely failing," Lisa said. She looked at a control panel covered in warning lights. "This place won't last much longer." They walked deeper into the station. Jake had studied the layout before they came. The main research labs were on level 3. The computer core was on level 5. The medical bay was on level 2. "Let's split up," Jake said. "Lisa, check the computer systems. Tony, secure the research labs. I'll look at the medical bay first." "Bad idea to split up," Tony said. "We should stay together." "We don't have much time," Jake replied. "The power could fail completely at any moment. We need to work fast." Tony didn't like it, but he agreed. They each went their own way. Jake found the medical bay after walking through several empty rooms. The door was still working. It slid open when he approached. Inside, most of the lights were off. Only a few emergency lights gave a dim red glow. The room was full of strange alien medical equipment. Jake had seen some of it before in his studies. Most of it was designed for different alien species that worked with the consortium. Then he saw her. In the center of the room was a medical platform. On it lay a being unlike anything Jake had seen before. She looked like she was made of blue crystal. Her skin was clear and seemed to glow with a very weak light. She was about the same size as a human, but thinner. Her arms and legs were long and graceful. Jake moved closer. The being was connected to several machines that beeped softly. A tube went into what looked like her mouth. Wires were attached to different parts of her crystal body. "Computer, are you active?" Jake asked. A voice came from speakers in the ceiling. "Yes, I am the station AI. You are the first visitors in 1,095 days. What happened here?" "There was an accident in the quantum research lab. An explosion damaged many systems. 17 researchers died. 23 were evacuated. 1 was left behind." Jake looked at the crystal being on the platform. "This one?" "Correct. Her name is Zarathes. She is Veltar. Her people decided she could not be saved. They took the others and left her here." Jake felt a cold anger in his stomach. "They just left her?" "Her brain activity was very low. The Veltar medical team said she would never wake up. They said it would be a waste of resources to take her." Jake moved closer to the platform. Zarathes lay perfectly still. The only sign of life was the very weak glow that came from inside her crystal body. "Is she alive?" "Yes, her life signs are stable but weak. I have kept her alive for 3 years." Jake studied the readings on the medical machines. He was not a medical doctor, but he knew enough to understand the basics. Her heart rate was slow but steady. Her brain showed some activity but not much. "What are her chances of recovery?" "Unknown. Veltar medicine is different from human medicine. Their healing depends on connection with others of their kind. Without other Veltar nearby, natural healing is almost impossible." Jake touched the platform near Zarathes. The crystal was cold under his hand. "So she's been alone all this time?" "Yes, completely alone." Jake looked at her face. Even though she was crystal, there was something peaceful about her expression. something that made him think she had been beautiful when she was awake. Why did the consortium send us here if there was a survivor? The consortium does not know. The Veltar evacuation team reported that all survivors had been taken. They did not mention leaving anyone behind. Jake felt the anger grow stronger. He had always known that some alien species were different from humans. Some cared only about their own survival. But leaving someone behind like this felt wrong. His radio crackled. "Jake, you need to see this," Lisa's voice said. "I found something big in the computer core. And I found weapons," Tony added. "Lots of advanced alien weapons. This place is a treasure mine." Jake looked down at Zarathus again. "I'll be there in a few minutes," but he didn't move. Something about the situation bothered him. Maybe it was the way she lay so still. Maybe it was knowing she had been alone for 3 years. Maybe it was just his human nature to want to help. He had always been like this. Even as a child, he brought home injured animals. His mother used to joke that he would try to save the whole universe if he could. Computer, what kind of being was she before the accident? Zarathus was a brilliant engineer. She worked on harmonic technology. Her research was very advanced. She was considered one of the most promising scientists of her generation. Jake nodded slowly. A brilliant mind trapped in a broken body, left behind and forgotten. "I'll be back," he told the computer. But as he walked toward the door, he already knew this wouldn't be the last time he visited this room. Jake spent the next 2 days working with his team. They found many valuable things on the station. Lisa discovered new computer technology that could make ships faster. Tony found energy weapons that were more powerful than anything humans had built. But Jake kept thinking about the crystal woman in the medical bay. Every few hours, he made excuses to check on her. He told Lisa and Tony that he was studying the alien medical equipment. This was partly true, but mostly he just wanted to see if Zarathus was still alive. Each time he visited, she looked exactly the same. Her crystal body glowed with the same weak light. The machines beeped with the same steady rhythm. She never moved. On the 3rd day, Jake brought his tablet to the medical bay. He sat in a chair next to her platform and started reading about the Veltar species. "Computer, tell me more about her people," he said. The AI's voice filled the room. "The Veltar are very old. They have lived among the stars for over 50,000 years. Their bodies are made of living crystal. They communicate through light patterns and sound vibrations." Jake looked at Zarathus. "How do they communicate with other species?" "They use translation devices. But they prefer to talk with their own kind. Veltar society is based on shared consciousness. They can feel each other's emotions and thoughts when they are close together. So being alone would be very hard for them." "Yes. Isolation is considered the worst punishment in Veltar culture. It can drive them insane." Jake felt sad for her. 3 years alone with only a computer for company. No wonder her people thought she couldn't recover. "Has she shown any signs of consciousness since the accident?" "Very few. Sometimes her light patterns change slightly. Sometimes her brain activity increases for a few minutes. But these events are rare." Jake nodded and looked back at his tablet. He read about Veltar technology, their history, their culture. The more he learned, the more impressed he became. They were an amazing species. They had created beautiful cities that sang with harmonic energy. Their art was based on light and sound working together. After an hour of reading, Jake started talking to Zarathus. "I bet you were working on something incredible before the accident," he said. "The computer says you were an engineer. I'm a scientist too, but I study living things, not machines." He felt a little silly talking to someone who couldn't hear him, but something made him continue. "I'm from Earth. It's a planet with lots of water and green plants. We have animals that make different sounds. Birds that sing, dogs that bark, cats that purr. Do you have animals on your world?" The machines continued their steady beeping. Zarathus didn't move. Jake kept talking anyway. He told her about his childhood on Earth. He described the ocean and how it looked when the sun reflected off the waves. He talked about his work studying alien species and how amazing it was to learn about different forms of life. My radio crackled. "Jake, where are you?" Lisa's voice asked. "In the medical bay. Still studying the equipment. We need you in the research lab. I found something that might interest you." Jake sighed. "I'll be right there." He looked at Zarathus one more time. "I have to go, but I'll come back tomorrow." The next day, Jake brought a book on his tablet. It was a collection of Earth poetry. He read it out loud to Zarathus. "This is by a human named Robert Frost," he said. "It's about paths in a forest." He read the poem slowly, trying to make his voice pleasant to listen to. When he finished, he thought he saw a tiny change in her light. It was so small he wasn't sure if he had imagined it. Computer, did you detect any change in her condition just now? There was a minor fluctuation in her bioluminescent output. It lasted 3 seconds. Jake felt excited. What could cause that? Unknown. It could be random neural activity, or it could be a response to external stimuli. Jake read another poem. This time he watched her carefully. Again, there was a tiny change in her glow. She can hear me, Jake said. Possible. But the responses are very weak. Jake continued visiting every day. Sometimes he read poetry. Sometimes he talked about Earth. Sometimes he just sat quietly and told her about his day. Lisa and Tony thought he was spending too much time in the medical bay. We're here to collect technology, not play nurse, Tony said. She's been like this for 3 years. She's not going to wake up. Her people left her behind for a reason, Lisa added. They know their own species better than we do. But Jake couldn't stop himself from visiting. Each day, Zarathus seemed to respond a little more. The changes were tiny, but they were real. On the 7th day, something different happened. Jake was reading a story about a human explorer who discovered a new planet. As he read, he noticed Zarathus's light patterns were changing more than usual. Instead of random flickers, the light seemed to pulse in rhythm with his voice. Computer, are you seeing this? Yes. Her bioluminescent patterns are synchronizing with your speech patterns. This is unprecedented. Jake felt his heart beat faster. What does it mean? I believe she is trying to communicate. Jake leaned closer to the platform. Zarathus, can you hear me? The glow from her body became slightly brighter. Computer, what should I do? Continue talking. See if the patterns become stronger. Jake talked for an hour. He told her everything he could think of. As he spoke, her light patterns became more complex. They weren't random anymore. They seemed to follow a pattern. I think she's trying to respond to me, Jake said. That appears correct. Jake looked at Zarathus's face. Her crystal features were peaceful, but now he could see tiny lights moving under her skin like small stars. Without thinking, he reached out and touched her arm. The moment his skin made contact with her crystal surface, everything changed. Her whole body suddenly glowed much brighter. The lights under her skin moved faster and created beautiful patterns. The medical machine started beeping rapidly. Jake felt a strange vibration in his hand. It was like touching a tuning fork that was vibrating very softly. Computer, what's happening? Her life signs are increasing rapidly. Heart rate up 40%. Brain activity up 60%. Bioluminescent output increased by 300%. Jake kept his hand on her arm. The vibration grew stronger. He could feel something like electricity moving between them, but it didn't hurt. It felt warm and alive. This is incredible, he whispered. Warning. Contact with Veltar physiology may be dangerous to humans. Recommend immediate withdrawal. But Jake didn't pull his hand away. The connection felt right somehow. For the first time since he had found her, Zarathus seemed truly alive. Her light patterns became even more complex. They moved across her body like waves of colored stars. Beautiful blues and greens and purples flowed under her crystal skin. She's trying to talk to me, Jake said. I can feel it. The computer was quiet for a moment. Then it said, you may be correct. Veltar communication involves both light and harmonic vibration. Your touch might be providing the harmonic component she needs. Jake stayed there for another hour, his hand gently resting on her arm. The whole time, her body glowed with changing patterns of light. It was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. When he finally pulled his hand away, her glow faded back to its normal weak level. But something had changed. Her face looked more peaceful than before, more alive. I'll come back tomorrow, he promised her. As he walked out of the medical bay, Jake knew that everything was different now. Zarathus wasn't just a victim waiting to die. She was trying to live, and somehow his touch was helping her do it. Jake couldn't sleep that night. He kept thinking about the moment when he touched Zarathus and her whole body came alive with light. He had felt something pass between them, something important. The next morning he went to the medical bay before breakfast. Zarathus looked the same as always, but Jake thought her glow seemed a little stronger than before. Good morning, he said softly. I hope you rested well. He sat down and placed his hand gently on her arm. Immediately her crystal body began to pulse with colored light. The patterns were different from yesterday. They seemed more organized, like she was trying to say something specific. Computer, can you analyze these light patterns? I am trying. Veltar communication is very complex, but I believe she is responding to your presence. Jake spent 3 hours with her that morning. He talked about Earth while keeping his hand on her arm. Her light patterns grew stronger and more beautiful. Sometimes they seemed to match the rhythm of his words. Other times they pulsed in response to something he said. When Lisa called him on the radio, he didn't want to leave. Jake, we need to talk, Lisa said when he met her in the research lab. Tony and I are worried about you. What do you mean? You're spending all your time with that alien. We have a job to do here, Tony nodded. She's been unconscious for 3 years, Jake. Her own people gave up on her. You're wasting time. I'm not wasting time, Jake said. She's responding to me. She's trying to communicate. Lisa looked at him with concern. Jake, I've seen the medical readings. Yes, there are some changes when you touch her, but that doesn't mean she's conscious. It could just be automatic responses. You're wrong, Jake said. There's someone in there. I can feel it. Tony shook his head. You're getting too attached. It's affecting your judgment. Maybe we should leave her here and focus on the mission, Lisa suggested. Jake felt anger rise in his chest.
Leave her here?
She'll die when the power fails. That was always going to happen, Tony said. We can't save everyone, but Jake couldn't accept that. Every time he touched Zarathus, he felt her fighting to come back. She wasn't giving up. How could he? That afternoon, Jake brought music to the medical bay. He played soft classical pieces from Earth while holding her hand. Her light patterns became incredibly complex, flowing across her body like liquid starlight. She likes the music, he told the computer. Her responses are definitely becoming stronger. Brain activity has increased 30% since you started regular contact. What exactly happens when I touch her? The computer was quiet for a moment, processing data. Human bioelectricity appears to create resonance with her crystal matrix. Veltar physiology is based on harmonic frequencies. Your touch provides frequencies that her own body cannot generate in its current state. So I'm helping her heal? It appears so. But this is unprecedented. No human has ever successfully interfaced with Veltar physiology before. Jake felt hope growing in his chest. Could she fully recover? Unknown. But her improvement suggests it is possible. Over the next few days, Jake established a routine. He visited Zarathus every morning and evening. During the day, he worked with his team, but his heart was always in the medical bay. Each visit brought new developments. Zarathus's light patterns became more complex and seemed to follow rules. Jake started to recognize certain patterns that appeared when he said specific words. I think she understands human language, he told the computer on the 5th day. Possible. The Veltar are excellent linguists. She may have studied human languages before the accident. Jake began testing this theory. He would say simple words and watch her light patterns. Hello always produced the same pattern. Earth created another specific pattern. Her name, Zarathus, created the most beautiful pattern of all. On the 7th day, something amazing happened. Jake was telling her about his favorite place on Earth, a quiet lake surrounded by mountains. As he described the way sunlight danced on the water, Zarathus's pattern suddenly changed. Instead of the flowing lights he was used to seeing, her whole body pulsed 3 times with bright white light. Then the lights formed symbols across her chest and arms. Computer, what just happened? She is attempting to use the station's translation system. Please wait. The air filled with electronic sounds as the computer processed her signals. Then from the speakers came a voice. It was musical and beautiful, like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Thank you. Jake felt tears in his eyes. Those were the first words Zarathus had spoken in 3 years. You're welcome, he whispered. Her lights pulsed again, brighter this time. The translation system activated once more. You stayed. Others left. You stayed. Jake squeezed her hand gently. I couldn't leave you alone. For the next hour, they had their first real conversation. Zarathus could only manage a few words at a time, and it clearly took great effort. But she was truly awake. She told him that she remembered everything. The accident, her people's decision to leave her, the long years of being trapped in her own body. She had been aware the whole time but unable to move or speak. I gave up hope, she said through the translation system. Then you came. You talked to me. You touched my hand. Hope returned. Jake learned that she had been working on harmonic technology that could help different species communicate better. Her research had been very advanced, but it was lost in the accident. "We can rebuild it," Jake told her. "When you're better, we can work together." "Will I get better?" she asked. Jake looked at her crystal face. Her features were becoming more expressive as her consciousness returned. "I think so. You're already so much stronger than when I found you." That evening, Jake's team confronted him again. "The alien is awake," Tony said. "We heard you talking to her." "Her name is Zarathes," Jake replied. "Whatever her name is, this changes things," Lisa said. "We need to report this to the consortium. They'll want to study her," Tony added. "Take her to a research facility." Jake felt protective anger. "She's not an experiment. She's a person. She's an alien," Tony said. "And she might be valuable." "That's exactly why we need to be careful," Jake said. "Her own people abandoned her. The consortium might do the same if she becomes inconvenient." Over the next few days, Jake spent even more time with Zarathes. Her recovery accelerated. She could stay conscious for longer periods. Her speech became clearer. She began to move her fingers and toes, but Jake noticed something else. Each time he stopped touching her, she weakened. The connection between them seemed essential to her healing. "Computer, what happens if I stop making physical contact with her?" "Her improvement rate decreases significantly. Your bioelectric field appears to be necessary for her continued recovery." This worried Jake. How could he help her if she depended on his constant presence? Zarathes seemed to understand his concern. "Do not worry," she told him one evening. "This connection will not be needed forever. My body learns from yours. Soon I will be strong enough alone." "How long?" Jake asked. "I do not know. Days, maybe weeks. But I grow stronger each time you touch me." Jake nodded, but he could see the worry in her crystal features. They both knew that his team wanted to leave soon. The station's power was failing and their mission was almost complete. "I won't abandon you," Jake promised. "No matter what happens." Zarathes's lights pulsed in a pattern Jake had learned meant gratitude. "You are different from what I expected from humans. Your people have a reputation for being selfish." "Some of us are," Jake admitted, "but not all of us." "You prove that," she said. "You give hope for the future between our species." As Jake left the medical bay that night, he realized that everything had become more complicated. Zarathes was no longer just a patient to save. She was becoming a friend, a partner, maybe even something more important. But time was running out. Soon he would have to make a choice that could change both their lives forever. On the 10th day, everything changed. Jake was in the medical bay when alarms started ringing throughout the station. Red lights flashed on every wall. The computer's voice echoed through the corridors. "Warning, main power core failure imminent. All personnel must evacuate within 6 hours." Jake felt his heart stop. 6 hours. That wasn't enough time. His radio crackled immediately. "Jake, get to the ship now," Lisa's voice said. "We're packing everything up." Jake looked at Zarathes. She was more awake than ever before, but still too weak to survive without the medical machines. Her crystal body glowed with worried patterns. "What does this mean?" she asked through the translation system. "We have to leave," Jake said. "The station is dying." Fear flickered across her features. "Will you take me with you?" Jake's throat felt tight. "I don't know. Our ship wasn't designed for Veltar physiology. And my team." He stopped, not wanting to finish the sentence. "They do not want me to come." Jake squeezed her hand. "It's not that simple. There are rules, procedures. The consortium didn't authorize us to transport civilians." "I understand," Zarathes said quietly. "You have done more than enough for me already." But Jake could see the fear in her light patterns. She was trying to be brave, but the thought of being alone again terrified her. Jake ran to find his team. They were in the cargo bay, loading containers of alien technology onto their ship. "How long do we really have?" Jake asked. 4 hours, maybe 5, Lisa said. "The power core is becoming unstable. When it fails, life support will stop working." "What about the alien?" Tony asked. "We can't take her with us." "Why not?" Jake demanded. "Look around," Tony gestured at their small ship. "We barely have room for the cargo. Our medical bay isn't designed for crystal-based life forms. We don't have the right equipment to keep her alive." Lisa nodded. And we don't have authorization. The consortium sent us here to collect technology, not rescue aliens. She'll die if we leave her, Jake said. She was going to die anyway, Tony replied. Her own people gave up on her. We can't save everyone, Jake. But we can save her. How? Lisa asked. Even if we modify our medical bay, which would take days we don't have, how do we know she'll survive the trip? What if moving her kills her? Jake felt desperate. We have to try. No, we don't, Tony said firmly. Our mission is complete. We've recovered valuable technology. That's what matters. Jake stared at his teammates. He had worked with them for 2 years. They were good people, but they thought like soldiers. Complete the mission. Follow orders. Don't take unnecessary risks. I'm not leaving her, Jake said. What do you mean? Lisa asked. I mean, I'm staying. Someone needs to be here with her. Tony laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. Jake, the station is dying. The power will fail completely. You'll both die. Maybe. Or maybe I can find a way to keep her alive long enough for a rescue ship to arrive. What rescue ship? Lisa demanded. No one knows she's here. No one is coming. Jake had thought of that too. Then I'll send a distress signal. The consortium will send someone eventually. By the time they get here, you'll be dead, Tony said. The station's emergency power won't last more than a few days. Then that's a chance I'll have to take. Lisa grabbed his arm. Jake, listen to yourself. You're talking about suicide. For an alien you barely know. I know her, Jake said quietly. I've spent 10 days with her. She's brilliant, kind, and brave. She doesn't deserve to die alone. Her own people left her, Tony repeated. Then her people were wrong. The three of them stood in silence for a moment. Around them, the station's systems continued to fail. Lights flickered. The air recycling system made strange noises. There might be another way, Lisa said slowly. Jake looked at her with hope. What? I've been studying the medical equipment in her room. It's incredibly advanced. If we could disconnect the critical systems and install them in our ship. That would take hours, Tony said. We don't have hours. We might, Lisa said. I could modify our medical bay while you two prepare her for transport. Tony shook his head. This is insane. We're risking our lives for one alien. Yes, Jake said simply. We are. Lisa looked between them. I can't promise it will work. The modifications are complex and moving her might kill her anyway. But there's a chance? A small one. Jake felt relief flood through him. Then let's do it. I vote no, Tony said. This violates every protocol we have. I'm the team leader, Jake reminded him, and I'm making the decision. Tony's face was angry. Fine, but when the consortium court-martials you for this, don't expect me to cover for you. I won't, Jake said. The next 4 hours were the longest of Jake's life. Lisa worked frantically to modify their ship's medical bay. She had to rewire power systems, install alien equipment, and recalibrate environmental controls. Meanwhile, Jake prepared Zarathes for the move. The station's medical AI helped him understand which machines were essential and which could be disconnected. Are you afraid? Zarathes asked as Jake worked around her platform. Terrified, Jake admitted, but not of dying. I'm afraid of failing you. You could never fail me, she said. You gave me back my life. Even if this does not work, I am grateful. Jake looked at her beautiful crystal face. It's going to work, it has to. Tony helped despite his objections. He was a good soldier and followed orders, even when he disagreed with them. But Jake could see the worry in his eyes. If we all die, because of this I'm going to haunt you, Tony muttered as he carried equipment to the ship. Fair enough, Jake replied. With 1 hour left before the power core failed, Lisa announced that the modifications were complete. It's rough work, she warned, but it should keep her alive during transport. Moving Zarathes was terrifying. She was so fragile, and the corridors were dark and cold. Jake held her hand the entire way, feeling her life force pulse weakly through her crystal skin. They got her connected to the modified medical systems just as the station's main power died. Emergency lights came on, casting everything in red shadows. "Is she stable?" Jake asked. Lisa checked the readings. "For now. But Jake, these modifications are temporary. We need to get her to a proper medical facility as soon as possible." Their ship disconnected from the dying station and moved away into space. Jake stayed in the medical bay with Zarathes monitoring her condition. "Thank you," she whispered through the translation system. "All of you. You risked your lives for me." "Humans do that sometimes," Jake said. "When it matters." Through the ship's windows, Jake watched Kepler's Edge disappear into the darkness. Zarathes had lived there for 3 years, trapped and alone. Now she was free. But Jake knew their troubles were just beginning. They were heading into unknown space with a critically injured alien who depended on technology they barely understood. The consortium would be angry about their unauthorized rescue, and Zarathes still needed constant care to survive. "Where are we going?" Zarathes asked. Jake looked at her glowing face. "I don't know yet, but wherever it is, we're going together." Tony's voice came over the intercom. "Jake, you better hope this works out, because if it doesn't, we're all in serious trouble." Jake squeezed Zarathes's hand and felt her squeeze back, weak but determined. "It'll work out," he said, as much to himself as to Tony. "It has to." The journey to the nearest medical station took 3 days. They were the most stressful days of Jake's life. Zarathes grew weaker during the first day. The modified medical equipment worked, but it wasn't perfect. Her crystal body dimmed to almost nothing. Several times Jake thought he was going to lose her. "Her biorhythms are failing," Lisa said on the second day. "The equipment is keeping her alive, but barely." Jake never left her side. He held her hand constantly, talking to her even when she couldn't respond. The connection between them seemed to be the only thing keeping her stable. "Hang on," he whispered. "We're almost there." Tony piloted the ship as fast as safely possible. Despite his objections to the rescue, he worked harder than anyone to get them to help quickly. "Medical station is responding," he announced on the 3rd day. "They're prepared for our arrival." Jake felt relief, but also worry. "Did you tell them what we're bringing?" "I told them we have a Veltar patient in critical condition. They're bringing in specialists." When they docked at the medical station, everything happened very fast. Teams of doctors and nurses rushed aboard their ship. Jake watched nervously as they examined Zarathes. "How long has she been unconscious?" asked Dr. Helen Price, the station's chief medical officer. 3 years, Jake said, "but she's been awake and talking for the past week." Dr. Price looked surprised. "That's impossible. According to these readings, she should be dead." "Human contact," Jake explained. "My touch seems to help her bioelectric systems function." One of the Veltar medical specialists, a tall crystal being named Korthen, studied the data with amazement. "This is unprecedented," Korthen said through his translation device. "We believed Zarathes was beyond recovery. Her neural pathways were too damaged. But human bioelectricity created new pathways?" Dr. Price asked. "It appears so," Korthen replied. "This could revolutionize how we treat consciousness injuries." They moved Zarathes to the station's most advanced medical unit. Jake was allowed to stay with her, continuing to provide the physical contact she needed. Over the next week, Zarathes grew stronger every day. Her crystal body regained its brilliant blue glow. She could speak for longer periods without becoming exhausted. Most importantly, she could stay conscious even when Jake wasn't touching her. "The new neural pathways are becoming permanent," Dr. Price explained. "Your bioelectric field helped her brain rewire itself. It's the most remarkable recovery I've ever seen." The Veltar medical team was equally amazed. Korthen spent hours studying Jake's interaction with Zarathes. "You have created something new," he told Jake. "A hybrid healing method that combines human and Veltar medicine. This could help thousands of patients across the galaxy." But Jake was more interested in Zarathes herself than in the medical breakthrough. "How do you feel?" he asked her on the 7th day. Stronger than I have in years, she replied. Her voice through the translation system was clearer now, more musical. But different too. The new neural pathways you helped create. They allow me to understand other species better than before. What do you mean? I can sense emotions in humans now. Before, your people were alien to me. Now I feel what you feel when we touch. It is beautiful. Jake felt warmth in his chest. What do you want to do now, when you're fully recovered? Continue. My research, Zarathus said without hesitation. But not alone. I want to work with humans. With you if you are willing. Before Jake could answer, Tony and Lisa entered the medical bay. They looked nervous. Jake, we need to talk, Lisa said. The consortium wants to see us. Jake's stomach dropped. He had been expecting this but hoping it would wait until Zarathus was fully recovered. What do they want? They're sending an investigation team, Tony said. We violated protocols by rescuing an unauthorized alien. They want to know why. Jake looked at Zarathus. Will you be okay while I deal with this? I will be fine, she assured him. Go. Face your superiors. Tell them the truth. The consortium investigation took 2 days. Jake, Lisa, and Tony were questioned separately about their actions on Kepler's Edge. Jake told the truth about everything, finding Zarathus, developing the connection with her, and making the decision to rescue her. Commander Helen Rodriguez led the investigation. She was a stern woman who had spent 30 years in space. Dr. Morrison, she said during Jake's final interview, you violated direct orders, risked your team's lives, and potentially exposed consortium technology to an unauthorized alien. What do you have to say for yourself? I saved a life, Jake replied simply. That wasn't your mission. Maybe it should have been. Commander Rodriguez stared at him for a long moment. The Veltar government has formally thanked the consortium for rescuing one of their citizens. They're offering to share advanced harmonic technology as a reward. Jake blinked in surprise. They are? It seems that your alien friend was more important than her people initially thought. Her research was critical to their defense systems. They had given her up for dead, but now they're very interested in getting her back. What does that mean for us? It means that your unauthorized rescue mission accidentally became a major diplomatic success, Commander Rodriguez said dryly. The consortium is deciding whether to court-martial you or give you a medal. 3 days later, Jake got his answer. He was called to a formal hearing aboard the consortium flagship. Dr. Morrison, Admiral Chen said from behind a large desk. Your actions were reckless and violated multiple regulations. However, the results have been beneficial. The Veltar have agreed to a new research partnership because of your rescue of their citizen. Jake waited, not sure what was coming next. We are not court-martialing you, the Admiral continued. Instead, we are assigning you to head a new interspecies medical research program. You will work with Zarathus and other alien specialists to develop the healing techniques you discovered. Jake felt relief flood through him. Thank you, sir. Don't thank me yet, Admiral Chen said. This assignment comes with significant responsibility. You will be representing humanity in a completely new field of medicine. Don't mess it up. When Jake returned to the medical station, he found Zarathus sitting up in bed for the first time. Her crystal body was brilliant with healthy light. You look wonderful, he said. I feel wonderful, she replied. The doctors say I am fully recovered. Better than recovered, actually. The new neural pathways make me stronger than I was before the accident. Jake sat down beside her bed. I have news. The consortium wants us to work together. They're creating a new research program for interspecies medicine. Zarathus's lights pulsed with joy. We can continue the research I started before the accident, but now we can improve it with human techniques. What kind of research exactly? Communication bridges between different species. Not just translation, but true understanding. The connection you created with me proves it is possible. Over the next months, Jake and Zarathus worked together at a new research facility built specifically for their program. They studied the neural pathways that Jake's touch had created in her brain. They experimented with bioelectric interfaces between humans and other species. Their work led to breakthrough after breakthrough. They developed new treatments for consciousness injuries. They created communication devices that allowed different species to share emotions as well as words. They trained teams of human-alien medical partners who could treat patients that no single species could help alone. "We are changing the galaxy," Zarathus told Jake one evening as they worked late in their laboratory. "We're changing each other," Jake replied. It was true. Jake had learned to see the universe through alien eyes. His understanding of life and consciousness had expanded beyond anything he had imagined possible. And Zarathus had gained something her people had never experienced: the ability to truly connect with other species. The hybrid neural pathways Jake had helped create allowed her to understand emotions and thoughts that were completely alien to the Veltar. 1 year after the rescue, they published their first major research paper. It described how simple physical contact between species could create new forms of healing and communication. The paper revolutionized interspecies medicine across the galaxy. "None of this would have happened if you had followed protocol," Zarathus said, as they celebrated the paper's publication. "Sometimes the right thing to do isn't the same as the safe thing to do," Jake replied. They were sitting in their favorite place in the research facility, a garden area with plants from dozens of different worlds. Earth roses grew next to Veltar crystal flowers and singing trees from the Alpha Centauri system. "I have something to tell you," Zarathus said. "The Veltar government wants me to return home. They want to honor me for my research and my survival." Jake felt a stab of sadness. "Are you going?" "Not permanently," Zarathus said. "But I think I should visit. My people need to understand what we have learned here. They need to know that isolation is not always the answer." Jake nodded. "When will you go?" "Next month." "But Jake." She reached out and took his hand. Her crystal skin was warm against his. "I want you to come with me. As my research partner and my friend." Jake felt the familiar tingle of connection between them, but now it was more than bioelectricity. It was trust, partnership, and something deeper than friendship. "I would be honored," he said, as